Okay, so this is a video on how to create a database on an Azure SQL Server. So I'm assuming that you already have a SQL Server built in Azure. So what you want to do first is click on that server. And right here where it says create database, you click on that. From there, first thing you want to do is select the subscription that you want to use. I only have one here. And then you want to go to the resource group that you want to have. I only have one here as well. And then the database name. So we'll call it test DB1. The server, I only have one server available, so I'm going to use that one. Do you want to use SQL Elastic Pool? And I'm going to say no. Workload environment. We'll call this development for now until we figure out what we're going to do with this database. Compute plus storage. We'll just take the default settings here. 1 core, 32 gigabytes of storage. Zone redundant disabled. Backup. We'll have a local backup. We're going to just do basic here. Next to the networking. And keep going. UCLS 1.2, of course. For security, we're just going to have the ledger not configured on this one. We're just going to go through some basic settings here. Additional settings, sample data, we're just going to say none because we're going to do this completely from scratch. Let's go back. Maintenance window. Don't really need this. System default is 5 p.m. to 8 a.m. We'll leave that. Tags. We're going to call it SQL Server. Test resources 1. Review and create. The deployment is complete. You can go and see the deployment details, operations, and then we can click on here where it says go to resource. And bada bing, we have a test DB1 SQL database. It is online and it's in our subscription. On this server, you don't have to worry about turning it off because this is not a virtual machine of that nature. So this is just a service that you use and you're charged for how much you use, how much compute you use, how much storage you use. It's not like a VM where you have it running all the time. It's not using those type of resources. So this is not something that you have to worry about to come in here and turn off. Yeah, sure. It says online and the pricing tier is general purpose. But if I don't do anything with this database, it's just going to sit here and it's not going to charge me any money. I would say maybe a few pennies, maybe, but that could be for something else, just for, it's not going to be nothing crazy. So you don't have to worry about coming in here and turning this database off. So that's how you create a SQL database on a SQL server. Next, let's add some networking to this Azure setup. We're going to create a private endpoint. In this subscription, we're going to call it private endpoint 1. Region is going to be East. This for me. Okay, so I'm going to create a virtual network here. I'm going to create 1. Resource group is RG1. Name is going to be virtual network 1. Virtual network 1 in the East. IP addresses. We're going to use the, I'm not going to use such a huge address block here. We're going to call it 10.1.2.0. And we'll make this a ./24. The subnet we're going to use off of this one is, we're going to use the whole /24 for simplicity's sake. Subnet name is going to be subnet 1. Being very creative here. And then we'll say NAT gateway. So at this point, we probably need a load balancer if we're going to be able to talk to the outside world from this virtual network. But right now, we're just going to leave it as is and add that. So we have one subnet, and we're just going to leave everything disabled here. And we're going to create this virtual network. All right, so now we have a virtual network. And right here, this is just essentially a timestamp of when it happened. So 2022, 12th month, 20th day, and it's saying 0928. So I'll go back here. So I'm gonna have to refresh and reload this because it doesn't recognize it. Can we go through this again? Private endpoint 1. Resource We'll give it to the SQL Server. And it's already selected that virtual network now. Subnet 1, correct. Dynamically allocate the address to DNS. We'll keep it in the private link. Next to tags, we don't need it. Review and create. All right, validation. All right, it says my deployment is complete. I'm just gonna go straight to the resource. So we started with just this SQL Server today in the storage, but let me see if it can show me. Okay, it's not gonna show me when I created these. All right, so I got the private endpoint, I got the virtual network, I've got, that's a resource group, I've got the SQL database. So those are the three things that we created today. Next time we're gonna get in and see how to access and maybe use this database and create like a small, maybe web app or something like that, just to see how this works. And then we're gonna wrap some security around the whole thing to make sure that it is actually something that we feel safe putting out on the public internet and letting people use it. But that's it for now. Thanks for watching.